Welcome back, everybody, to the deep dive. This time, we're going to get into something I think you're going to find surprisingly fascinating. It's something you use every day, probably, but don't even think about. Split case pumps. Now, before you tune out thinking pumps, boring, I promise.
You're not
That's
farring.
Yeah, you provided me with this really cool guide about split case pumps, and they're like way more important than
Are everywhere.
yeah, than I ever realized. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are these silent workhorses behind so much of what makes the modern world tick. So let's get right into it. What makes a split case pump different from any other kind of pump?
Well, the name kind of gives it away. The casing splits horizontally.
Yeah.
Imagine it like a clamshell, but made of metal
Yeah.
and designed to handle a lot of pressure. The cool thing about that is it makes it really easy to get to the internal components. If you need to do maintenance or repairs, you don't have to disconnect any pipes or anything.
Okay, that makes sense. So this clamshell design must be a big deal for making sure these things stay up and running, especially in places where it would be really bad if a pump went down, like
Oh, absolutely.
like a city water supply or something.
Yeah, think about a power plant, for example. If their cooling system goes down because of a pump failure, that could force the whole plant to shut down. So being able to quickly repair a pump, thanks to that split case design, can really make a huge difference.
Yeah, that puts it into perspective. So speaking of water, our guy here talks about how important split case pumps are to water systems. And it's not just about like moving water from point A to point B.
No, not at all. They play a really important role in making sure that the water we use every day is safe and readily available. So you've got treatment plants, filtration systems, and then the whole distribution network that gets water to our homes and businesses. Split case pumps are kind of the backbone of all those processes.
So it's not just turning on the tap and there's the water. There's this whole system,
There's a whole lot going on behind the scenes.
yeah, behind the scenes, powered by these pumps. I was reading in the guide, there was this case study about a city that was hit by a pretty bad drought, and their split case pumps were what kept the water flowing, even when things were really tough.
Yeah, those pumps can really be lifesavers in those kinds of situations. They're designed to maintain consistent pressure and operate reliably, even in challenging conditions.
So they're real workhorses, like you said. Okay, so we've got water, but these pumps are also a big deal in the world of power generation. And I'll admit, I never really thought about pumps when I thought about power plants. I always thought it was all about,
Yeah, turbines and generators.
yeah, those big generators and stuff. So where do pumps fit into all that?
Well, they're critical for keeping things cool. You see, power plants, whether they're traditional or renewable, they generate a lot of heat. And that heat has to be managed to keep everything running smoothly. That's where pumps come in. They're used in cooling systems to prevent overheating and ensure efficient operation.
So even with all the advancements in renewable energy like solar and wind, we're still relying on these pumps.
These were essential.
That's interesting. So you need pumps for like a coal-fired plant, but you also need them for a solar farm.
Exactly. And the great thing about split case pumps is that they're incredibly versatile. They can be customized to handle all sorts of fluids, temperatures, pressures.
So one size doesn't fit all?
Nope. They can be tailored to the specific needs of each power plant.
That's pretty cool. Our guide mentions that these pumps can even impact how much we pay for electricity.
That's right.
How does that work?
Well, a more efficient pump uses less energy to do its job.
Yeah.
So if a power plant has efficient pumps, their operating costs go down, and those savings can be passed on to consumers.
So a more efficient pump means lower electricity bills for us.
Potentially, yes.
I'm starting to see why these things are so important.
Yep.
But wait, there's more. Our guide says that these pumps are used in all sorts of industries that I never would have thought of,
Oh, yeah, we're just scratching the surface here.
like mining.
Yep.
Textiles.
What?
You name it.
That's crazy.
Split case pumps are everywhere.
So let's dive into some of those other industries. You mentioned mining. That sounds pretty rough. What are these pumps doing in mines?
Well, a lot of mining operations have to move these really abrasive slurries around. Basically mixtures of liquids and solids, like mud and sand and crushed rock.
Oh, wow. So it's not just like pumping water.
No, it can be really tough on the equipment.
Yeah, I can imagine. So how do split case pumps hold up under those conditions?
Well, they're made from really durable materials, things that can withstand the wear and tear from all that abrasive stuff. And of course, that split case design comes in handy here too, because if a part does wear out, it's easy to get in there and replace it without having to take the whole pump apart.
So it's like the best of both worlds. Tough and easy to fix.
Yeah,
Makes sense. Okay, but then you mentioned textiles, which seems like the total opposite of mining. How do pumps play a role in making clothes?
Well, believe it or not, split case pumps are really important for dyeing fabrics. They help maintain the precise flow rates and pressures needed to apply the dye evenly.
Wait, so the color of my shirt, like that depends on a pump.
Yeah?
I never would have guessed. So we've got pumps in water systems, power plants, mines, textile factories.
And that's not all.
There's more.
Oh, yeah.
Like what?
Well, you've got oil and gas pipelines that use split case pumps to move fuel over long distances,
Yeah.
and chemical processing plants that need them to handle all sorts of corrosive liquids. Even the pulp and paper industry relies on these pumps.
Wow, they really are everywhere.
They are.
So it's not just one type of split case pump that does all these different things right.
Right. They're highly customizable. You can get them with different impeller designs, materials, sealing systems, whatever you need to handle the specific fluid and operating conditions.
So it's like they build a custom pump for each job.
pretty much.
Okay, so we've talked about all the upsides. But are there any downsides to split case pumps? Are they more expensive than other types of pumps, for example?
They can be a bit more expensive up front, yes. But you have to consider the long-term costs. Because they're so durable and easy to maintain, they often end up being cheaper to operate over their lifespan.
So it's kind of like an investment.
Exactly.
You pay a little more now, but you save money down the road.
And you get that peace of mind knowing that your pump is reliable.
That's a good point. Okay, so let's talk about the future of these pumps. Our guide mentioned some pretty cool advancements in split case pump technology, especially in the areas of smart technology and sustainability.
Things are getting really interesting in those areas.
Yeah, okay, tell me more.
Well, imagine a split case pump, but it's equipped with sensors that can monitor its own performance. Things like flow rate, pressure, vibration, temperature. All that data can be fed into a central control system and analyzed to spot potential problems before they even happen.
So it's like the pump is telling you when it needs a checkup. That's amazing. What else is in the works?
Well, there's a lot of focus on energy efficiency. Engineers are coming up with new designs that minimize friction losses and optimize the pump's hydraulics.
So they're using less energy to do the same job.
Right.
So these pumps are not only keeping up with the demands of modern industry, but they're also becoming more sustainable.
That's the goal.
It's pretty cool how something as seemingly simple as a pump can play such a big role in shaping the future.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not just about making the pumps themselves more efficient. It's also about using materials that are more environmentally friendly.
Right, so thinking about the whole life cycle of the pump,
Exactly.
from manufacturing to disposal,
The goal is to reduce their environmental footprint as much as possible.
that makes sense. So it's like a two-pronged approach.
Yeah,
Better designs and better materials.
and it's all driven by this growing awareness of the need for sustainability.
Right. Okay, but I gotta admit, I'm still kind of stuck on this idea of a smart pump. Can you give me like a real-world example of how that would work?
Sure, imagine you've got a big industrial facility with a whole network of pumps. And each pump has all these sensors on it, monitoring everything. Flow rate, pressure, vibration, temperature, you name it.
Okay.
And all that data gets sent to a central control system, where it's analyzed by these sophisticated algorithms,
So it's like having a computer brain watching over all the pumps.
pretty much.
And what happens if the system detects a problem?
It can send an alert to the maintenance crew, telling them exactly which pump needs attention and what the problem is.
So you can fix it before it causes a major shutdown.
Exactly.
That's incredible. It's a far cry from just waiting for something to break and then scrambling to fix it.
It's all about being proactive.
Yeah. Wow, this has been a real eye-opener. I had no idea split case pumps were so important or so interesting. You did. So to all our listeners out there, the next time you turn on your faucet or flick on a light switch or even just look at the clothes you're wearing, take a moment to think about all the split case pumps that are working behind the scenes.
They're the unsung heroes of our modern world.
They really are.
And the future of split case pumps is looking pretty bright.
That's what I love about these deep dives. You never know what you're going to learn. So until next time, keep exploring and keep learning. And we'll see you on the next deep dive.